Hello. Today I've downloaded Ride 5, which I've played only a little bit, and I have Ride 4, and I played that even less because this series upsets me because of the incongruity between how I feel like I would ride a motorcycle and how the character behaves. Now, that being said, I can't judge because I don't do track riding unless it's like in my sleep or I don't remember it. Oops, open some music up or something like that. Anyway, but I just do pit bike and like I've ridden a street bike just to get my motorcycle license basically. And I'm thinking about getting a 250 Ninja soon. There's one that I'm looking at. It's not certain, you know, at all, but it's a it's a possibility. I've been thinking about getting one since I was 17 and I'm 30 now. So anyway, and I used a Ninja during my first rider's course that actually, interestingly enough, I lost the sheet of paper that I needed to take the DMV because um I don't know, I was young and I would lose stuff and I lost my wallet. Um but this time around I actually about a little more than a year ago now. Wait, maybe more. Wait, 2 years ago. About 2 years ago I got my motorcycle license again. Like I actually got the license this time. I took the same course. I got the license. So I'm just kind of thinking about it. I don't consider at least Ride as it is. I saw a video for Ride 6 and it actually looked like they might have smoothed out some of the more natural physics, like the way that the body torques and controls the bike. So I'm kind of excited for that. But I'll just prep myself to not have high expectations about this one. And I'm just gonna kind of, if there's a free mode, I can't remember if there's a free ride mode, but if there is, I'll just do that. Probably. I don't know if I should do any racing because I shouldn't be racing my motorcycle on the road. So I don't want to kind of get that in my head, you know. I mean, it's okay to separate it and do it in the game, but since I'm specifically playing this game right now to think about actually owning one on the street, I should probably not focus on the racing aspect. And I only have so much time right now because I have a online group therapy meeting at 5. Basically, it looks like what I'm getting at is that it looks like they probably updated the drifting physics, the motorcycle drifting physics in 6, and it looks like they're still working on it also. But I'm gonna be honest with you, that makes a lot of sense that I would find that frustrating because I feel like a lot of what I do with motorcycles or bikes in general is like I kind of, not in a bad way, take advantage of, but I kind of take advantage of that space in between when you're prepping for an action and actually going for the action. I like to take as much preparatory movement up front as I can and align the bike to what I'm about to do. I think that kind of precognitive state makes a lot of maneuvers possible that are not possible if you wait until you're already in the motion. And that's what it feels like I'm struggling against here, is that just because I pull just because I pull the analog stick to the side, it doesn't necessarily mean that the game knew what I meant by that. Does that make sense? Something's up with the resolution too. See, 1920 by 1080. I don't know what the actual one is. Let's just check them. It says RGB 250. Is that the Ninja? It looks like a Ninja. It looks a little different. Suzuki. Oh, they make Hayabusa. What is the Ninja again? Hayate Kumo? Ningen? It looks like the smallest engine size they have for the Ninja is 600 in this game. I'm only looking at a 250. So actually the other bike I was looking at is probably closer. And I already own it, so that's good. Now I know it might not be the exact same type of thing. For example, I don't know if slick tires is going to represent the type of tires I'll be running. But, you know, then again, not everything. I'm not going to be driving on a track either. I'm going to be driving on the road, so whatever. I don't know. Can I visit a track with a street bike? That might be kind of fun. And I'll have mirrors too, I would assume. Anyway, let's just take this one and go with it. Well, after we, look at it a little more. Seems pretty similar. I know that's kilometers per hour and not miles per hour. 240. I think the Ninja says 120 on it. And I think the rev limiter is about the same. If they're the same size engine, the only difference is... the main differences in the actual engine would be like bore size, I don't know, crankshaft depth, stuff like that. There's only so many things that can be different. Are they doing material physics in this game too? Are they actually simulating the type of metal in the engine or whatever? I don't know. I don't know if any of that's relevant. All I know is that this is close enough. Eventually, I think I'd like to get a Hayabusa like this one. Except I think I'd like the longer wheelbase personally. I think I'd like to have this stretched rear. But I don't want to get a 1000cc bike right off the bat. This one's 1340. I don't want to get a huge engine right off the bat because I'm coming from pit bike land. I want to be able to move my bike easily, and I don't want to have to worry about dropping it. Hopefully I never drop a 250, but at the same time, if you start to go down like this, it's a lot easier to pull it back up when it's lighter. But eventually I wouldn't mind owning a big bike, as long as it's like this, I think. I don't have a problem with like Harley Davidson stuff. Like if I had to, or if I was offered an opportunity to and I felt comfortable, I think it'd be pretty fun. but it's just not, it's not where my head's at. That's interesting. They used the Suzuki factory for military products during World War II. I wonder what they were making. They said they could not manufacture engines. Couldn't manufacture their own engines? Or couldn't manufacture engines in general because they were being used to make guns and stuff. Oh, by the way, I used to own a Tomos 49cc that was fairly heavily modified, and that's why I learned a lesson from that, not to run the carburetor too hot, or else you run the risk of blowing out the piston rings. Rest in peace, that crankshaft. I'll do time trial, but just take it as like a free run. Don't actually expect me. I could just do endurance then, I guess, right? Is that what the kind of idea here is? I don't know what that is. Let's do a time trial first. Just don't expect me to post a fast time. Okay, what I'm going to do here is... Wait. I'm going to leave this on because I'm just using a controller, and there's a digital input for the rear brakes. So I'm going to leave it on. Automatic steering deactivated, cornering input modulation. Same thing, I'm going to leave it on for now because I'm not going super hard in the paint on this one. This will be manual though. Acceleration, same, I'll leave that on unless something's going wrong. Automatic throttle off. Ideal trajectory, I'm going to put that on. Off track aid, I'll put that on just in case. Rewind, might as well leave it on. Game speed reduction. Yeah, why not? No, let's run it normal first and then we can check it out. Nürburgring. Sure, let's just do that. Let's go. the guy was very aggressive with his turning, and while that might be good for high speed, this is why games like this are very difficult to simulate, I feel like. I want my character... I need to check his, where is it? I need to check his riding style and see what the options are. Sorry, I realized that I should probably put the other tires on. I probably shouldn't be so frivolous about the slicks. I feel kind of stupid, but one more thing is I want to switch to livery. Livery's locked. Interesting. I can always add stickers later. I just want to use this one. I just want to use regular white, and then I can add stuff and whatnot later. Hopefully that's all I think of for now. Hopefully we can just do this and have a fun time. I would like to address that crash doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know why it went so far in like that. Maybe I did do that. I don't know why it went so far in, and then the brakes didn't seem to respond like I expected them to when I actually started hitting them on the way over. So I don't know if that's just some sort of psyop to make me look incompetent and try to dissuade public opinion away from me being seen as a responsible motorcyclist, or if that's just some weird shit that just happened. I don't really have an explanation for that, but I'm not happy about it. Let's put it that way. I'm also not going to overreact to it or anything. Someone must have tried to simulate my penis in this situation and gotten something wrong. Or maybe they were simulating my circumcision, which the game probably doesn't have the ability to compensate for. Which is why I don't have a bike already. This is why I don't have a lot of material possessions, is because of my circumcision. And why things often go wrong for me, and yet I survive. That's weird. I've never had a Norton thing interrupt my gaming experience before. Very unusual. Let's go to pit. Not to mention that one weird crash. That was an anomaly. Let's do another track. Okay, my guess is this area that they show is one place they'll try to fuck me up, but because I've said that, they might try to fuck me up in other places. So let's see. once again, second time, I am not so confident that that is how that would have panned out. But hey, you guys do you, right? You know, this reflects more on your program than it does on my abilities. Oh, and also, if you are fucking with the settings and shit and you're doing scam shit, just be aware if you fuck up in real life, if you're doing that shit in real life and you fuck up, it could cost you a lot. Just so you know. Lesson in humility. You know, it can also be called, it can be considered terrorism because you're trying to run a psyop on someone and instill fear in them over something that wouldn't have occurred that way in real life. I'm just saying. Now, am I being overly cocky? No, because I'm just pointing out the possibilities. And I don't play this game that much. I'm not claiming that my skill at this game is super high. I am claiming to have quite a robust knowledge of physics in real life. I'm also not claiming, once again, to run tracks like this in real life, but I will reiterate, I am claiming to have quite a robust inherent knowledge of physics and of sports. You know, those are the sorts of crashes that happen when someone gets shot, not when someone's bad at riding a motorcycle. would also like to deter you from having the expectation that I would go down if you shoot me, by the way. And I can feel several influences going, let's put that to the test. I thought we already did that. I thought what that whole DMT period was about was putting that to the test. And I passed the test, and here you are saying you're going to put it to the test? I guess we have to do it again. Don't worry, I won't start in until the clearance is more obvious this time. Check. Here we go again. I'm going to indulge you in it for a minute here, and then we're going back. First, number one, that's not what that was. Blah, 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 blah. This, that, and the other. Something about you being a criminal. This, that, and the other. We would never do that, and if we did, therefore, law enforcement. Bitch. Same issue. I could feel it starting. There's no real reason that should have happened, except someone's now probably coming up with some sort of stupid fucking narrative or excuse. That's all it is. Here, I want to hear it. What's your reasoning this time? What's your explanation? Well, you shouldn't be, don't fuck with the cops. I'm sorry, what was it? Go ahead. Tell me what's the rest of that statement. Something about no-fly zone, something about flight risk, something... Come on, I want to hear the rest of it. Judaism. Got it. Problem here is that I'm not a Jew. And if you're using Judaism as an excuse to do that, as above, so below, mon frere. Take that into consideration. And if you're sitting there going, I am trying to warn you. Not an effective method. Try something else. Try communicating with me through, like, either verbal direct communication or maybe a text message or something like that, or an email. Include your name, who you are, and what the actual message is. And why you feel it necessary to warn me. Anyway, this sort of shit is why I uninstalled the game pretty early on. And I will probably do so again in a moment. I might leave it on for a little bit, but this is why maybe I'll get Ride 6 and hopefully they've worked some of that shit out. And if you're sitting there going, it's actually very cocky of you to say that, let me ask you a question. What's in that soul of yours? Is that the truth?
Yes, it is. Let me tell you why. Blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Prejudice.
This is the point that they realize they fucked up.
If you're an imaginary invisible officer and you're using nudge, I would like to use slap. And guess what? You say slap denied. Guess what? That was the whole point. Guess what's going to happen next? Opposite and equal reaction. interesting. I felt it there too, even though it didn't fall. I can tell because there's an anomaly in the responsiveness. It's as though someone is graphically reducing the velocity of the vector of my analog stick at that given point in time. And then that's not always what it feels like the issue is. Like when I slid out going downhill after that, after the, that gradiated S curve, that felt like there was some sort of collision. But it's like, wouldn't it be the same feeling if someone's slightly, like, imaginarily nudging me? And if you think I wouldn't be able to account for the slight lift, you don't understand how I ride. And then here you go. Once again, you'd like to put this to the test. How about you stop doing that before I start testing you? And then you sit there and go, what are you going to test me on? Retardation? Not having a foreskin? Not being able to get laid? Oh! How about war games? How about, you think that's what you're doing, you're not. You're being petty. How about let's put you to the test on war games? I would like to test to see that if your methodology would be effective in a full-blown simulation. If your methodology would nth properly, how about that? I think essentially what you're trying to establish is that if you murdered me, you would get away with it. And I would like to explain something very specific to you. Getting away with it wouldn't be the problem at that point. I'm going to be honest with you. It's not about the law at that point. Getting away with it is not the problem you would be having. See, even then, it's still swung out too far to the right. I guess you guys don't understand. How do I explain it? So I think your excuse would be that I lifted the front up, right? And that I lost grip as I did that. Well, I guess you don't really understand how the gradation of the tire, how that, the whatever you call that, how that would respond to the type of pressure that I was instructing to elicit at that moment. I don't want to test you on this, I'm just speaking my mind. What is that called? Coaxial inflagration? I would like you to think about entropic induction. Keep that in mind. Now, learning from my mistakes in the past, that's a manageable amount of dysregulated emotion. Yeah, like I was saying. First of all, don't start on me with, you don't know anything about the radial induction properties, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. Have you ever hand-to-hand combated with me and survived? A, yes. If you have, then you would know I know a lot about the radial induction properties of a lot, probably just generally. Secondly, if you, A, have never engaged in this with me, then you really don't have anywhere to speak on this. And if you engaged in this and did not survive, then you're just being a dickhead, because you know I know this shit.